It's the new year. The world is celebrating a new beginning. But the people of Russia and Ukraine are witnessing something else. Missiles and rockets are raining down on residential areas. Dozens have been killed on both sides. Ukraine attacked the Russian city of Belgorod. In retaliation, Putin targeted over 120 Ukrainian cities in one go.
All throughout the day today, there have been reports on the aftermath of the Russian strikes. In total, more than 120 cities and villages in Ukraine suffered from yesterday's Russian attack alone. 39 people were killed. My condolences to all who lost their loved ones. It is very important to provide all necessary assistance to the victims, those whose homes and apartments were damaged by terrorists. It is important to work on this at both the government and local levels.
Зараз у Харкові знов триває.
It was one of the bloodiest nights. The Russia-Ukraine war has now been ongoing for almost 2 years. Both sides are currently at a stalemate, but there are no signs of the battle slowing down. Last year in June, Ukraine launched its counteroffensive. The goal was to drive out Russian forces from its territory. The counteroffensive was heavily supported by NATO members. Ukraine was given tanks, armored vehicles, HIMARS artillery systems and ammunition. The first 2 months looked promising, but then the counteroffensive slowed down. Russia had the advantage of air power. Fighter jets, attack helicopters and drones decimated Ukrainian tanks. Ukraine was able to recover some lost territory, but Russia controls large parts of Ukraine. Everything east of the Dnipro River is still under Moscow's control. This includes the regions of Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhzhia and Kherson. Ukraine's counteroffensive has failed. There are skirmishes every now and then, but Zelensky's troops have been completely halted by Russian forces.
I concentrated the main efforts in the outgoing year on achieving the objectives of the special military operation. The main one was to disrupt the loudly announced counteroffensive by Ukraine and its NATO allies against the Russian armed forces. This task has been successfully accomplished. The Russian army is constantly taking more favorable positions and expanding controlled territories in all directions. We are consistently moving towards achieving the stated goals of the special operation.
Ukrainian tanks and artillery are lying in the battlefield. They are completely destroyed. And there is one Russian weapon that has ruled the front lines. The current tactics of fighting have changed drastically. Suicide drones, also called kamikaze drones, are being heavily used. Earlier in the war, Russia was purchasing its drones from Iran. Now Putin has emphasized on indigenous manufacturing. And that's how Russia's most lethal drone was born, the Lancet. The Lancet was first put into operation in June 2022. The drone can be used for surveillance and strike roles. Lancet has an operational range of up to 40 kilometers and an endurance of half an hour. It can be launched via ground launchers or from ships, and the drone costs just $35,000. The Lancet is the most cost-effective and lethal loitering munition in Russia's arsenal. And it has been a nightmare for Ukrainian tanks, dealing one lethal blow after another.
We get vehicles that are hit by Lancet drone or by unmanned guided rockets. It happens often. On average, there are 5 to 10 vehicles brought in here each month.
The Lancet has even destroyed Ukrainian artillery that is far away from the battlefield.
Russian UAVs Lancets are our main fear. It is very hard to work from the open positions because they fly their drones every 30 minutes and could strike us. This is the only fear. Lancets are the main danger.
Ukrainian troops say that the kamikaze drones have made their tanks useless. Before the tanks can even enter the battlefield, the Lancet locates them and takes them out.
It's harder to conduct assault activities in the winter. Also, the rules of war have changed. There is no point in assaulting with columns consisting of tanks and armored personnel carriers. Everything develops. Drones, kamikaze drones exist. You haven't moved out of your position and you're being spotted, and the enemy uses everything to destroy your tank.
Russian loitering drones have become a menace for Ukrainian tanks. The big armored vehicles are unable to escape the lethality of the Lancet. The future of warfare is tipped in favor of the drones. They are cheap and easy to use, and when they strike, they leave tanks useless. But drones can't capture territory and conduct area domination the way tanks can. So where does that leave Ukraine? Kyiv desperately needs F-16 fighter jets, more weapons, and a lot more money. NATO's plan to isolate Russia has failed. Moscow's economy and military-industrial complex is booming. Putin is sitting comfortably.
First of all, we are pushing the enemy's combat units away from Donetsk. Secondly, by breaking into this fortification, which the enemy has been building since 2014, having built a significant number of reinforced concrete fortifications, communication routes. By breaking this fortification, our troops have the opportunity to reach a wider operational area now.
He has found the perfect counter to NATO's weapons. Machines worth millions of dollars are being decimated by the cheap Lancet drone. Has Russia created the most effective weapon of modern warfare?